Some people believe lightning never strikes the same place twice. But Olivia Rivers knew better. She had learned the hard way that life could break you once, then dare you to stand up again. And when you finally did, it would ask if you were brave enough to risk everything one more time. The morning started like any other Tuesday. Olivia stood in her small apartment kitchen, staring at the empty coffee mug that still sat on the counter. 3 years had passed since anyone else used it. 3 years since the car accident that took her husband, Daniel, and left her with nothing but memories and a job where she saved strangers every single day. Being a paramedic had become her armor, her purpose, her excuse to never feel too much again. Her radio crackled just as she grabbed her jacket. Unit 7. We need you on Highway 42. Multi-vehicle collision. Reports of children involved. Olivia's heart dropped. Children. Those calls were always the worst. She radioed back her confirmation and rushed to the ambulance bay where her partner, Thomas, was already warming up the engine. The highway was chaos when they arrived. 3 cars twisted together like metal sculptures, glass scattered across the asphalt like deadly diamonds. Police were redirecting traffic, and smoke rose from one of the vehicles. But what caught Olivia's attention was the small blue sedan crushed between 2 larger cars. Through the spiderwebbed window, she could see a child's car seat. "I've got this one," she told Thomas. Grabbing her medical kit, the driver's side door was jammed. Olivia moved to the back door, prying it open with practiced efficiency. Inside, a little girl with curly brown hair sat frozen in her car seat, tears streaming down her face but making no sound. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. "Hey there, sweetheart," Olivia said softly, climbing into the back seat. "My name is Olivia." "What's your name?" "Sophie," the girl whispered, her voice barely audible. Da-da-da-da-da. That's a beautiful name. "Sophie, I'm going to get you out of here, okay? You're very brave." As Olivia checked Sophie for injuries, her hands worked with the muscle memory of 1,000 rescues. Cuts and bruises, possible concussion, but nothing that seemed critical. The real danger was the smell of gasoline growing stronger. "Sophie, where's your daddy?" "He was behind me," Sophie said, fresh tears spilling. "In another car? We were going to the hospital." "He's a doctor there." Olivia's chest tightened. This little girl had been following her father when the accident happened. She worked quickly, unbuckling the car seat straps. "We're going to find him, I promise. But first, let's get you somewhere safe." She lifted Sophie carefully, shielding the child's face from the wreckage as they emerged. Thomas met them halfway, taking Sophie to the ambulance for a full evaluation. Olivia was about to check the other vehicles when she heard someone calling out, "Sophie, where's my daughter?" "Sophie." A man in a gray suit was pushing past the police barriers, his face wild with panic. He had dark hair disheveled from running, and his eyes searched desperately through the crowd. When those eyes landed on the ambulance where Sophie sat, wrapped in a blanket, relief washed over his features so completely that he nearly collapsed. "Sir, you need to stay back," an officer started. But the man was already moving. "That's my daughter. I'm Dr. James Holloway." We were in separate cars, and his voice broke as he reached the ambulance. "Daddy." Sophie reached out, and James pulled her into his arms, holding her like she might disappear if he let go. Olivia watched from a few feet away, something twisting in her chest. The raw desperation in James's face, the way he checked his daughter over with shaking hands. Whispering thank you to God over and over, it reminded her of everything she had lost. The family she would never have. The love that felt too dangerous to risk again. "Is she okay?" James asked, turning to Olivia. His eyes were redrimmed but focused now, the doctor in him taking over from the terrified father. Cuts and bruises, possible mild concussion. "We're taking her to General Hospital for observation." "I'm coming with you. Are you injured?" Olivia asked, noticing a cut on his forehead. "It doesn't matter." "It does. Get in. Thomas will check you both on the way." The ride to the hospital was quiet except for Sophie's occasional sniffles and James's soft reassurances. Olivia focused on her paperwork, avoiding eye contact. But she could feel James watching her. Something unspoken hovering in the air between them. At the hospital, as they transferred Sophie to the emergency room, James caught Olivia's arm gently. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. You saved my daughter's life." "I don't know how to. It's my job," Olivia said quickly, pulling her arm away. She had learned not to accept gratitude. It made everything too personal, too real. "She's a brave little girl. Take care of her." She turned to leave, but James called after her. "Wait, please. Can I at least know your full name?" Olivia hesitated at the ambulance doors. Against her better judgment, she looked back. "Olivia Rivers." "Olivia Rivers," he repeated, as if committing it to memory. "I won't forget." 3 days later, a package arrived at the paramedic station. Inside was a hand-drawn picture from Sophie, a little girl, holding hands with a woman wearing a paramedic uniform. Above it, in careful child's handwriting, "My hero, Miss Olivia." And beneath that, in adult script, "Some debts can never be repaid, but I'd like to try. Coffee? James Holloway," followed by a phone number. Olivia stared at the drawing, at the innocent hope captured in crayon, and felt the walls around her heart develop their first crack in 3 years. The coffee invitation sat on Olivia's kitchen counter for 5 days. She walked past it every morning, told herself she would throw it away, and somehow never did. Sophie's drawing had found its way to her refrigerator, held up by a magnet shaped like an ambulance. Every time Olivia saw those crayon lines, something warm and terrifying moved through her chest. On the 6th day, she texted the number. "Coffee sounds nice." The response came within minutes. "Tomorrow? There's a cafe near the hospital. 10 o'clock. Olivia almost canceled 3 times before she finally walked into the small cafe with its mismatched chairs and the smell of fresh bread. James was already there, sitting by the window, and when he saw her, his face transformed with a smile that made him look younger, less burdened. "You came," he said, standing up. "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't." Olivia sat down, keeping her jacket on like armor. "How's Sophie?" "Completely recovered. She asks about you every day. Wants to know when she'll see her hero again?" James ordered them both coffee, and when the cups arrived, an awkward silence settled between them. "I should explain why I wanted to meet," James began, stirring sugar into his cup. "It's not just about saying thank you, though I do want to thank you properly. It's because when you pulled Sophie from that car, I realized something. I've been so focused on work, on just getting through each day after my divorce, that I forgot what really matters. You reminded me." Olivia wrapped her hands around her cup, feeling the warmth seep into her palms. "I just did my job." "No." James shook his head. "You did more than that. Sophie told me how you talked to her, how you made her feel safe when she was terrified. That's not just training. That's who you are. You don't know who I am? Then let me know." James leaned forward, his eyes earnest. "I'm not asking for anything complicated. Just conversation. Just this." Olivia looked down at her coffee. She should leave. She should maintain her distance, keep her heart locked away where it was safe. But something in James's voice, the genuine warmth without pressure, made her stay. "Okay," she said quietly. "Just conversation." So they talked. James told her about his work as a cardiologist, how he spent his days repairing broken hearts while his own remained fractured. He spoke about his ex-wife, Claire, who had left him 2 years ago for someone more available, more present. Someone who didn't work 70-hour weeks and come home smelling like hospital antiseptic. "She wasn't wrong," James admitted, staring into his cup. "I was married to my job. After my father died of a heart attack when I was in medical school, I became obsessed with saving everyone. I thought if I worked hard enough, no one else would have to feel what I felt. But I forgot about the people right in front of me." Olivia understood that obsession. After Daniel died, she had thrown herself into work with the same desperate energy. If she saved enough people, maybe it would balance the cosmic scales. Maybe it would make his death mean something. "What about you?" James asked gently. "Sophie's drawing is still on your fridge, isn't it?" Olivia's head snapped up. "How did you have that look? Like someone who keeps tokens of the people they save because it reminds them why they keep going." James smiled sadly. "I have a drawer full of thank you cards I never read." For a long moment, Olivia said nothing. Then slowly, she began to talk. About Daniel, about the accident 3 years ago that took him on a rainy Thursday night, about how she had been working a shift when it happened, saving someone else's husband, while hers died alone on a different highway, about the guilt that sat in her chest like a stone, the constant question of whether she could have saved him if she had been there. "I stopped believing in second chances after that," Olivia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Lightning doesn't strike twice." "Maybe it does," James said softly. "Maybe that's what second chances are. Lightning striking again, giving you another opportunity to feel something real." Their coffee went cold as they talked, the cafe filling and emptying around them. When Olivia finally checked her phone, 3 hours had passed. 3 hours that felt like both minutes and days. "I should go," she said, standing up reluctantly. "Can we do this again?" James asked, hope and fear mixing in his expression. Olivia wanted to say no. Every instinct screamed at her to walk away, to protect herself. But when she opened her mouth, different words came out. Maybe. Over the next 2 weeks, maybe became yes. They met for coffee again, then lunch, then dinner. James never pushed, never demanded more than Olivia was willing to give. He talked about Sophie constantly, his love for his daughter evident in every word. And slowly, carefully, Olivia felt something shifting inside her. The invitation came on a Friday evening via text. "Sophie wants to know if you'd like to come to dinner at our place. Nothing fancy, just pizza and a 7-year-old's enthusiastic conversation. No pressure, but she's been practicing showing you her room for a week." Olivia stared at the message for a long time. This was different from coffee in neutral territory. This was entering their lives, their home, their world. This was the moment where she either took a step forward or retreated back into safety. She typed and deleted responses 5 times before finally sending, "What kind of pizza?" James's reply came with a smiley emoji. "Sophie insists on pepperoni. I'll get a vegetarian one too, just in case. Tomorrow at 6? The next evening, Olivia stood outside James's apartment building, her heart hammering. She had brought flowers, then felt stupid about it, then convinced herself it was polite. The buzzer sounded, and she climbed to the 3rd floor, where James waited in the doorway. "You came," he said. And there was such genuine happiness in his voice that Olivia felt something crack inside her chest. "Miss Olivia." Sophie came running, throwing her arms around Olivia's waist. "You're here." "Daddy, she's here." "I can see that, sweetheart." James laughed. Meeting Olivia's eyes over his daughter's head, the apartment was warm and lived in. With Sophie's drawings covering the refrigerator and toys scattered across the living room floor, it smelled like pizza and vanilla candles and felt more like home than Olivia's own place had in years. Dinner was chaotic in the best way. Sophie talked non-stop, showing Olivia her collection of stuffed animals, her favorite books, the new shoes she got that lit up when she walked. James watched them both with a soft expression, occasionally meeting Olivia's gaze across the table with something that looked like wonder after dinner. While James cleaned up, Sophie pulled Olivia to her room. The walls were painted light purple, covered with posters of astronauts and deep-sea creatures. On the nightstand sat a framed photo of James and Sophie, both grinning at the camera. "Daddy says you save people," Sophie said, sitting on her bed and patting the space beside her. "Like a superhero." Olivia sat down carefully. "I try to help when people are hurt or scared. Are you scared when you saved me?" The question caught Olivia off guard. She thought about lying, but something in Sophie's earnest gaze made her tell the truth. "A little bit, yes, but you did it anyway." Sophie nodded seriously. "That's what Daddy says brave means. Doing something even when you're scared." She paused, picking at the hem of her shirt. "Are you scared now?" Olivia's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "Daddy smiles different when you're here. He's happy scared, like when we go on roller coasters." "Are you happy scared too?" Out of the mouths of children came truth too pure to deny. Olivia felt tears prick her eyes. "Yes, sweetheart, I am." Sophie reached over and took Olivia's hand in her small one. "It's okay to be scared. Daddy says the best things are always a little scary." When they emerged from the bedroom, James had finished cleaning and was making tea. He took one look at Olivia's face, and his expression shifted to concern. "Everything okay?" "Your daughter is very wise," Olivia said, her voice thick. "She gets that from her mother," James said, then caught himself. "Sorry, it's okay." And surprisingly, it was. Olivia was beginning to understand that James's past didn't threaten her any more than her own past threatened him. They were both carrying histories, both learning to move forward. As the evening wound down and Sophie went to bed, James and Olivia sat on the couch, leaving careful space between them. The silence wasn't uncomfortable, just full of things neither knew how to say yet. "Thank you for coming," James said finally. "This meant a lot to Sophie. To both of us, thank you for inviting me." Olivia turned to face him. "James, I need to tell you something." His body tensed slightly. "Okay, I'm scared." The words tumbled out. "I'm terrified, actually. I didn't think I could feel this way again, and I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'll ever be ready. But being here tonight with you and Sophie, I felt something I haven't felt in 3 years. I felt like maybe I could have a life again. And that terrifies me more than any emergency call ever has." James moved closer, close enough that Olivia could see the gold flecks in his brown eyes. "I'm scared too," he admitted. "Scared that I'll mess this up like I messed up my marriage. Scared that I'll hurt you or Sophie will get too attached and you'll leave. Scared that this feeling I have when I'm around you is too good to be real." "What feeling?" "Hope." James reached out slowly, giving Olivia time to pull away, and took her hand. "For the first time since Claire left, I feel hopeful about the future. You did that. Just by being you." Olivia looked down at their joined hands. James's fingers were warm, slightly calloused, steady like a doctor's hands should be. When Daniel held her hand, it had felt like safety. This felt different. This felt like possibility. "I don't want to replace him," James said quietly, as if reading her mind. "I would never try to take his place in your heart. But maybe there's room for something new alongside what came before. Maybe we can both be brave enough to try." Before Olivia could respond, her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, glancing at the screen, a message from her supervisor. "Emergency. All units needed. Multiple casualties downtown." The shift was immediate, automatic. Olivia stood up, the paramedic in her taking over. "I have to go, I know." James stood too, walking her to the door. "Be safe." At the threshold, Olivia paused. She turned back and did something that surprised them. Both she kissed his cheek, quick and soft. "Thank you," she whispered. "For tonight, for being patient, for giving me hope too." Then she was gone, running down the stairs toward her car, toward the emergency, toward the job that had defined her for so long. But this time, as she drove through the night with sirens wailing, she wasn't running away from feelings. She was running toward a future where maybe, just maybe, she could have both the work she loved and the people who made her want to come home, in his apartment. James touched his cheek where her lips had been and smiled. The call came at 2 a.m, pulling Olivia from restless sleep. But it wasn't work this time. This time was James's number flashing on her screen. "Olivia." His voice was tight with controlled panic. "I'm sorry to call so late, but Sophie has a high fever and she's asking for you. I've given her medication, but she's scared and crying and He broke off. "Could you come?" "I know it's asking too much, but I'm already getting dressed." Olivia was pulling on clothes before she finished speaking. 20 minutes. She made it in 15. James opened the door looking exhausted, his hair standing up where he'd run his hands through it. "Thank you for coming." The fever started suddenly, and she woke up disoriented. "As a doctor, I know she's fine, but as a dad, you're terrified," Olivia finished, stepping inside. "Where is she?" Sophie was curled up in her bed, clutching her stuffed elephant, tears streaming down her flushed cheeks. When she saw Olivia, she reached out with both arms. "Miss Olivia, I don't feel good." Olivia sat on the edge of the bed, placing a cool hand on Sophie's forehead. The fever was real, but not dangerously high. She had seen this 1,000 times in her work, but somehow this felt different. This child mattered in a way that went beyond professional duty. "I know, sweetie. But you know what? Your daddy is the best heart doctor in the whole city, and I save people for a living. Between the two of us, we're not going to let anything happen to you." Olivia brushed damp curls from Sophie's face. "Want to know a secret?" Sophie nodded, her eyes wide. "When I get scared, I think about all the brave things I've already done. Like the time I climbed into that car to save a very special little girl. And you know what made me brave enough to do that? What? Knowing that on the other side of fear, someone was waiting who needed me. Your daddy was waiting for you that day. And tonight, we're both here waiting for you to feel better. You're surrounded by people who love you, Sophie. That's better than any medicine." James stood in the doorway, watching this scene unfold. His hand pressed against his mouth. Sophie's grip on Olivia's hand tightened. "Do you love my daddy?" The question hung in the air like a held breath. Olivia felt James's eyes on her, felt the weight of the moment pressing down. She could deflect, change the subject, protect herself with careful words. But Sophie deserved honesty, and maybe so did James. "I think I'm starting to," Olivia said softly. "Is that okay with you?" Sophie nodded, a small smile breaking through her tears. "He loves you too. I can tell. Oh, can you now?" Olivia tried to keep her voice light, but her heart was racing. "He hums when he makes coffee before seeing you. He only hums when he's happy." From the doorway, James cleared his throat. "I'm going to get some water." Very slowly. Taking my time, he disappeared, leaving them alone. "Sophie," Olivia said gently, "I want you to know something important. I had someone I loved very much, and I lost him. For a long time, I thought I'd never feel happy again. But then I met you and your daddy, and you taught me that hearts are bigger than we think. They can hold old love and new love at the same time. They can break and heal again. That's what makes them so strong. Like my daddy fixes hearts at the hospital? Exactly like that. But sometimes the best healing doesn't happen in hospitals. It happens in moments like this, with people who care about each other." Sophie's eyes were starting to droop, the medicine and Olivia's presence finally calming her. "Will you stay until I fall asleep?" "I'll stay as long as you need me." Olivia sat there, holding Sophie's hand, singing soft lullabies her own mother had sung to her once upon a time. When Sophie finally drifted off, Olivia carefully extracted her hand and tiptoed to the door where James was waiting. They moved to the living room, speaking in whispers. James handed Olivia a cup of tea she hadn't asked for but somehow needed. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, the space between them charged with everything unsaid. "She really asked if you loved me?" James's voice held wonder and disbelief. "No, children see things adults work too hard to hide." Olivia wrapped both hands around the warm mug. "And I meant what I said. I am starting to feel something I thought I'd never feel again." James set down his tea and moved closer. Not touching, just closer. "When Claire left, I thought I was done with relationships. I had Sophie, I had my work, that was enough. Then you walked into my life, covered in glass and debris, carrying my daughter like she was precious cargo, and something in me just woke up." James, "Let me finish." He took a shaky breath. "I'm not good at this. I work too much. I get lost in my head. I'm not spontaneous or romantic. But I'm good at showing up. I'm good at staying. And if you give me a chance, I will show up for you every single day. Not to replace what you had, but to build something new with you." Tears were sliding down Olivia's cheeks before she realized she was crying. "I'm broken," she whispered. "I have nightmares. I have days where I can't get out of bed. I have moments where I forget he's gone and reach for my phone to call him. I'm not some neat, healed package ready for a new relationship." "Good," James said firmly, "because I'm a mess too. I have joint custody battles and trust issues and a 7-year-old who will always come first. We're both broken, Olivia. But broken things can hold each other up. Broken things can be stronger when they're mended together." Olivia looked at this man, this kind, patient, wonderfully imperfect. Manand felt the last of her walls crumbling. Not because he was perfect, but because he wasn't. Because he understood that love after loss doesn't erase the past. It honors it by daring to hope for a future. "I'm scared," she admitted. Me too. I might run. I'll wait. I might break your heart. James reached out and cupped her face gently, his thumbs wiping away her tears. Then I'll be in good company because you're trusting me with yours too. We'll be scared together. We'll be brave together. And we'll figure it out one day at a time. When he kissed her, it was soft and tentative and full of promise. It tasted like second chances and hard-won hope. When they pulled apart, Olivia was smiling through her tears. One day at a time, she repeated. Starting tomorrow, James asked. Starting now. They fell asleep on the couch together, checking on Sophie every hour, talking in whispers about everything and nothing. About their childhoods and their dreams, their regrets and their hopes. About what kind of future they might build if they were brave enough to try. When dawn broke through the windows, painting everything in shades of gold and pink, Olivia woke to find Sophie standing in front of the couch, her fever broken. Holding her stuffed elephant. You stayed, Sophie said, her face lighting up. I stayed, Olivia confirmed. Sophie climbed onto the couch between them, snuggling into Olivia's side. James woke up, saw them together, and his expression was so full of love that Olivia had to look away. Can Miss Olivia make us breakfast? Sophie asked. Please. Olivia looked at James, who shrugged with a smile. Only if she wants to. No pressure. But there was pressure the good kind. The kind that comes from people depending on you, not out of emergency or necessity, but out of love. Out of the simple desire to be together. Pancakes, Olivia decided. With chocolate chips? In the kitchen, as she mixed batter and James made coffee, Sophie sat at the table coloring a new picture. This one showed 3 people holding hands, a man, a woman, and a little girl standing in front of a house with a big sun shining overhead. That's us, Sophie explained when Olivia came to look. Our family, Olivia's breath caught. She looked at James, who had gone very still, waiting to see how she would respond. It's beautiful, Olivia said, her voice thick with emotion. Can I keep it? Only if you promise to come back, Sophie said seriously. Olivia knelt down, so she was eye level with the little girl. Sophie, I can't promise I won't be scared sometimes. I can't promise I'll always know what to do. But I can promise that I'll keep showing up. I'll keep being brave. Because you and your daddy have shown me that lightning can strike twice, and when it does, it doesn't destroy, it illuminates. James came up behind them, resting his hand on Olivia's shoulder. The gesture was simple, but powerful. A silent statement of solidarity and support. We're in this together, he said quietly. All of us. For as long as you want. Olivia stood up, turning to face him fully. She took his hand and Sophie's hand, connecting the 3 of them. Then I guess you're stuck with me. Because I want forever, Sophie cheered. James pulled Olivia into a hug that felt like coming home. And for the first time since Daniel died, Olivia allowed herself to believe in something she thought was lost, the possibility that broken hearts could not only heal, but could learn to love again, deeper and stronger than before. Outside, the sun continued to rise, bringing with it a new day and all its possibilities. Inside, 3 people who had known loss began to build something beautiful from their shared scars. Because that's what healing is, not the erasure of pain, but the courage to feel joy despite it. And Olivia Rivers, who had spent 3 years saving everyone but herself, finally understood that sometimes the bravest rescue is the one where you let yourself be saved. The pancakes burned a little because they were too busy laughing to notice, but no one cared. They ate them anyway, sitting around the table, making plans for tomorrow and the day after and all the days that would come. Planning trips to the aquarium, movie nights, walks in the park, planning a life. Because lightning had struck twice. And this time, Olivia was ready to let it change everything.